It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. Sean, why don't you talk a little bit about just what some of the data said that leads us into this GDP dump, anything that you saw when you were looking things over, and then the rest of you guys just what you're seeing in your own businesses, what you're seeing from other businesses that you're talking to about how this year is kind of carrying on through this, quote, recession that we're seeing. Sean, you're on mute.
Sorry. Michael, what are you laughing at?
I can hear you.
One of the things that is unusual about this recession is it's not a demand-sided recession. There's no problem with demand still. This is a supply-side recession. We don't have enough human beings to work. We don't have enough stuff on the shelf. At one time, gasoline prices were through the roof because of supply and demand. So there's a supply issue. It's not a demand issue. That's why a lot of companies are still doing fine. In fact, consumer spending was actually up in July. And so in a recession, that's very unusual to have demand and unemployment as low as it is. Normally unemployment is creeping up by now. Usually consumer spending is way down. And so it's a little bit different than some of the other recessions we've gone through. One of the big things that I take a look at just to get a handle on the economy and how people are feeling is the University of Michigan's got this survey they have. It's called the participation, consumer sentiment is what it's called. And it just measures and gets a pulse of how people are feeling about their personal finances and how they're feeling about the economics on a larger scale, on a macro scale. And that sentiment came out for July, and it's one of the lowest it's been since they've been doing the survey. That's very worrisome to me. And when you can get the whole country to agree that things aren't going real well and we don't like where it's headed, the one thing I'm going to keep my eye on is consumer spending. As the rates go up and inflation's still there and going up. If consumers are not able to spend anymore, then we're going to see some things change, and unemployment will start to go up. The labor market will soften up, and somewhere in there, hopefully it's a soft landing and it's maybe a few months of a recession and we're on our way.
It's an interesting caveat and point that you made that it's a supply side recession. And for a while in the show, we've been trying to talk about this and what we're seeing in our businesses. And one thing that we've talked about multiple times is how this ramp up in inflation, which is supply side based, right? It's just there's not enough labor to go around. There's not enough materials to go around. The cost of everything goes up drastically. And the demand didn't dissipate, right? So all of a sudden the supply side price snap that happens. Eventually those high prices and uncertainty and inflation cause consumer confidence to go down. We've been talking about that for 4 months. And so it's interesting that data is kind of coming out. And so it's kind of like, where's the floor, right? And when does the spending come along with the confidence? It's I won't say that's like a leading indicator, but it's kind of like a real-time indicator. And I see it in my household and just the people that I surround myself with. They're just a little more cautious, right? A little more thoughtful about the things they're spending money on and how drastic does it get. James, Michael, Rob, I'm curious what you guys are seeing. Is anybody you see taking action on that, or even just talking about it, but not quite putting their money where their mouth is with it?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a few guys, not so much in my town, but some a little bit north, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, that they're feeling a little bit differently than we are. But every part of the U.S. is different. There's not really a recession here in the Midwest. Right? People are still spending too much money. They understand more that everything is going to take a little bit longer. So that's probably the biggest plus for us and everything we're doing. So they're okay waiting 6 months to get a project done because supply chain, right? So they're used to hearing that. But people are not pulling off or pumping the brakes at all. They're putting more on the gas from everybody I'm talking to. They're getting more business. They're getting more team members. They're spending more on advertising. They're trying to capture all of this business that people are slowly letting go of. Because I've also talked to a couple businesses that are trying to sell because they just can't handle it anymore. And it could be the leadership side of stuff. It could be they're just frustrated with pricing or whatever. They're not priced properly. So I think we're going to see a ton more of that in the next 6 to 12 months of people trying to exit now because they're just tired of doing what they were doing.